Welcome to Brave Conversations, where real stories lead to brave moves. I'm Barbie Armenta, storyteller, speaker, realtor, and guide for women navigating midlife transitions. If you're standing at a crossroads, wondering what's next, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Brave Conversations. So a glass of tea hit against the wall, and I remember sitting on the floor, wiping up the ice and tea off the tile, thinking, what am I getting myself into? It was the day before we were supposed to leave for Las Vegas to get married. Flights were booked. Our parents and our siblings were flying in. 20 people were coming with us, and there I was on my knees, cleaning up the mess and telling myself, it's fine. He's just stressed. This is a lot of change. Once we're married, we'll settle in. I couldn't cancel now. I was already in too deep. But to understand that moment, you have to know how I got here. After my divorce, I met someone not long after the papers were final. I was spending every other weekend with my son, and those quiet weekends, and they can feel much louder than noise ever could. So I did what you would do in the early 90s, pre-internet. I went out with friends country dancing. And one night, Neon Moon came on, and if you know me, you know I had to dance. So that's when I saw him. Blonde hair, blue eyes, blue shirt. Later, I learned that his friends called it the shirt because girls always asked him to dance when he wore it. And he could two-step, which I felt like was a bonus. But he lived 2 hours away in Abilene. He was just in town with friends for the Texas Rangers game. But it felt like a chance encounter that turned into a year of long-distance dating. When I didn't have my son, I would drive to Abilene, and eventually he started coming my way too, spending time with me and my son. I was craving stability. I wanted family again. I wanted a future that felt safe. So when he proposed, I was hopeful again. The engagement wasn't flashy. We just happened in his living room in Abilene, and it was on the day we were supposed to drive to Amarillo to see his family. But soon after, he started plans to transfer to get his job, to move his job to Arlington. I found a duplex for us to live in temporarily, and we decided to fly to Las Vegas to get married. It was practical, it was cheaper, and honestly, it felt easier. But we had paid for our parents and our siblings to all come with us. 20 people said yes, and everything looked right until he moved to Arlington a few weeks before the wedding. He was stressed, short-tempered. I brushed it off. This was a lot of change happening at once. And then came the glass of tea. Stress is one thing, but how we respond to it, that's a whole nother thing. But still, we went to Vegas. The wedding happened, and everyone had a great time. I told myself, this is it. This is our fresh start. But not long after, we started looking for a house, and this is where I came alive. I loved looking at homes, model homes especially, maybe because I'm a dreamer, or maybe because they feel full of possibilities, clean slates and hopeful beginnings. But we decided to build a semi-custom home in a small gated community in North Arlington. There was this little lake and a walking trail. It felt perfect. But this is also where I fell in love with new construction. Watching something go from a blueprint to a real full home and seeing the walls go up and making selections, semi-custom was a great place to start. I could select all the pretty things without being overwhelmed with all the selections. I didn't get too creative. I chose mostly what was in the model home, including the green and white striped wallpaper in the kitchen. And yes, I was still very much in my border paper era, but I loved every minute of it, especially watching the pool go into the backyard. I could already imagine my boys learning to swim there. It was great. It was perfect layout to have like a wrought iron gate for safety. Soon I became best friends with my new neighbor. She had a daughter just a little younger than my son, and before long we were both pregnant with boys. Life felt full again. The house held 6 years of life: diapers, bedtime routines, birthday parties, growing boys. It's where Nick started school and where Mitchell learned to walk and swim after Nick pushed him in a time or two. It's where I discovered how much I loved being a boy mom. Saturday mornings at a ball field, I used to feel sorry for people that had to do that, and then I loved it. The noise, the chaos, the laughter, it was the best. It's also where I started attending church for the first time in my life. I didn't grow up in church. I had accepted Christ in the 5th grade because a friend told me that I would go to heaven, and I believed her. And then I went to this Methodist church, and I felt something different. God felt present, and the sermons felt personal. I decided to sign up for a 9-month walk through the Bible, and I started learning who Jesus really was. And at the same time, my husband would yell at us all the way to church and then walk in and be everyone's best friend. If this is what being a Christian looked like, I wasn't sure what to do with that. I was holding joy and confusion at the same time, loving my boys, loving the house, learning about God, trying to understand marriage. And then when Nick was 9 and Mitchell was 3, I found out baby number 3 was on the way, another boy. Someone once told me that there's a special place in heaven for moms of boys, so I guess I am 3 times blessed. But with that pregnancy came decisions. The house wasn't big enough, and the school situation wasn't what I thought. I realized a little too late that we weren't actually in the Arlington School District. First-time mom mistake. Just because a house was in Arlington did not mean it was in that school district. But when I went to the school, the woman at the desk said, "You couldn't get a transfer?" And I thought, you should be telling me the school's good and I don't need a transfer. But that was not the case. But right after that, I found out my sister was buying a house in the Arlington School District, and she let me use her address. It wasn't my proudest mom moment, asking my son to lie about where we live, but here we were. By the time Mitchell was about to start kindergarten and I was pregnant with Dawson, by then my neighbor had moved to Southlake, and so we decided to follow. And thank goodness we did, because right before we could even sell the house, another parent turned us in at the school. Even the woman that worked at the school felt bad. Nick was a great student. He thrived there. He had an amazing friend group, great grades, and his teachers had even chosen him for a special award. But it looked like that door was closing, so Southlake it was. I remember loading up the kids and driving away thinking, here we go again. Another move, another school, another attempt to make things work. On the outside, it looked like progress. A good school, a bigger house, all the right boxes checked. But on the inside, I wasn't sure. I was pregnant with my youngest and very excited. I was hopeful that this was going to be a new season and the fresh start that we needed. I was trying to manage everything, my faith that was still forming. I was learning scripture while quietly learning how much strength it takes to hold everything together. That season taught me something that I didn't understand at the time. You can build a beautiful life and still feel unsettled in it. You can love your children deeply and feel unsure about the road that you're on. You can believe in God and still be confused about what obedience really looks like. Southlake was the next chapter, and it was a place where questions got louder, the truth became harder to ignore, and that's where the unraveling really began. And that's the story I'll tell you next.